Good morning, everyone. Carpo here. It's about 6 o'clock a.m., a little earlier than that. I woke up around 5 this morning, well rested, and it's relatively warm out here. It's been a beautiful, beautiful spring, like in the 80s. It's very unseasonal for out here where I live, but anyway. So I'm trying to get my morning coffee in, even though I know it's more of a ritual than anything. I tried drinking tea yesterday, some guayusa tea. Just ain't the same for breakfast. I love the flavor of coffee. So anyway, to get to the point here, whenever I wake up in the morning, I can't resist just doing a little research right off the bat. Maybe I can be faulted for that. Perhaps my intention is to wake up and wander around and take a walk, maybe go to the park. But lo and behold, I always end up doing some kind of research or filling orders for the business or whatever I need to do to get things to feel like I'm being busy. Sometimes it's very difficult to just sit and be, especially in the morning when our mindset is so clear. I mean, I guess everyone has their own morning personalities, so I can't say that I speak for everyone else. Some people are really morning people and some people aren't, but... So anyway, I woke up and I read this little... It was reasons not to become a Freemason. And I found it interesting because I don't remember how I ran across it. It was written by a Freemason, and it was like 10 reasons not to join Freemasonry. And he said he made it with the intention that, that it would influence people to want to join Freemasonry. Because basically they were like like negative statements, like, well, you don't want to join because you're, you like to cheat or steal and lie, and you don't want to join a group where you're expected to be a certain way, and all these things. By the end of the 10 reasons, and then after reading the comments section, I empathized with both parties, both sides. To explain here a little backstory, Freemasonry is on the decline, and as a lot of the older members are dying off, they're not able to fill the lodges with the younger members because people don't want to join anymore. So there's been a lot of talk about Freemasonry and whatnot in movies over the last decade or two, and the guy was hoping that would spur renewed interest in it. However, it also brings in the conspiracy theorists, which, like we know, every group has their ups and downs. Every group's going to have people who take advantage and abuse power, but I'm not even going to sit here and defend or knock Freemasonry. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to say that the reasons that he gave for disagreeing with it are they're legitimate arguments. Basically, that it's a group of a group of old men who are trying to hold together a group which may or may not pass down useful information. But the point being that Freemasonry is based on a brotherhood that respects all cultures, religions, creeds. They help people. They help their communities and those who are less fortunate. They put a lot of money into, barbecues and things like that, trying to get people together, I guess. And I think that the problem lies within the politics within Freemasonry. And as many Freemasons will tell you, the politics of the lodge seem to override the value of the actual establishment at times, and this would mean that the main goal of people is to see that you're moving up, that you're increasing in ranks. You want to get to the 32nd degree so you can get to the 33rd degree. And I think that over the centuries, if Freemasonry had been a legitimate institution, they would have altered their methods with the times in order to remain consistent. I guess to give you a perfect example is look at what the churches did with It started in the 80s with Christian rock and bands like Petra. And I remember my friend was a Christian. At least his mom was a Christian, and she'd always get him to go to church. And I remember he showed me Petra one time. It was like, his mom was trying to get him into Christian rock, you know. But at any rate, oh, there was Striper too. At any rate, they were failed. They failed at trying to get the average person to become a Christian. What they did was, or try to get cool kids to become Christians. What it did do is just gave existing Christians a reason to remain Christians, I guess. You know, it gave some excitement for the ones who were already Christians, and maybe it did influence some people to move in. My point being that if Freemasonry had done something like that, like, come join Freemasonry, it's cool, you know, I mean, it would be ridiculous, you know, because it doesn't go with the values of the institution. But the sad thing is that the Christian, you know, Christian rock and all that, it didn't go with the values of the institution either. But Christianity knew how strongly music swayed people because of the emotions it invoked. So they tried to fight against it, and then finally they gave in and became part of it. And I see the same thing's going to happen with all of these groups, societies, organizations. They're going to have to step out of their shell, step out of their pious natures, to think that, you know, just because you're wearing a lambskin that says you're a 32nd degree Mason does not mean you're a better person than anyone else. And in fact, it can mean you're much a worse person than other people. A label or a title does not give a person qualities, okay? It just gives them respect, but only by people who also wear those aprons. The point being, a 32nd, 33rd degree Mason could walk down the street wearing their garb, and most people would just scoff. They wouldn't give a shit. They're not going to look at that as authority. But somebody from the lodge would revere that person. This is my point, is that Freemasonry wants to be respected. It needs to revere all people and be revered by all people. And there's a reason why conspiracy theorists have taken Freemasonry under their wing. Sure, many of the founding fathers were Freemasons. And yes, many of the decisions that have been made in this world have probably had people who were Freemasons behind it. The problem is that associating Freemasonry with those decisions as opposed to men who are Freemasons making those decisions, okay? Now, if a Christian goes out and he murders a family, you don't say Christianity murders families. You say a person murdered a family and he was a Christian. And the same with Freemasons who may take advantage and pillage or try to, you know, take over a nation or whatever it may be people think that the Freemasons are doing. Just remember that people do those things, not Freemason as an institution. Because most Freemasons are good people. And they are people that just want to make a difference. They are people who want to fit in with somebody who understands their minds a little better than maybe they do. And basically, to break it down, if you want to be a Freemason, you have to believe in a higher power or an almighty existing entity we might call God. However, you cannot believe in a specific God, because Freemasons know that religions are made for man by man. And this is a fact the way I see it. All religions were created by man for man. It doesn't mean that God was created by man, or the idea of nature, or God, or Pan, or any of these, you know, entities that people have come up with. It doesn't negate them. It doesn't negate these omnipotent forces that we know exist, or many of us believe exist anyway. It doesn't negate that at all. It just means that you're telling somebody you cannot pin it down to a specific religion. It just can't happen. This world cannot have a one religion. So I think with Freemasons it's probably very similar. Each lodge is going to be different, just like each church is different in Christianity. And I know I'm being maybe daring comparing Christianity to Freemasonry, but it's very similar in regards to a group who basically scoffs at those who won't join, and believes that they are superior or better people, that they have higher moral upstanding, you know, values than other people. I'm not saying that all of Christians think this way, or all of Freemasons think this way. but the entity as a whole, both of them, seem to resonate with an anti-other theme. So, in essence here, I'm not defending Freemasonry, nor am I bashing it. My grandfather was a 32nd degree Mason, and I have all his apron, his cap, his rings, and everything, and I've always been fascinated with it, but I've been reading about Freemasonry since about, the mid-90s. So it's been like 20 years that I've known about these things. It's not like I just found out about Freemasons the other day and I'm interested. I went through a decade of believing the Freemasons were the root of the world's problems. So I spent 10 years thinking that the Freemasons were the ones who were in control of everything. I really did believe that. And the more research I did, the less evidence I had, and eventually I spoke to enough Freemasons to know that the average Freemason has nothing to do with corruption, greed, or hatred. However, the average person still has his shortcomings and emotions. To give you the example, my grandfather was a 32nd degree Mason. However, he was an abusive father to my mother and her sisters. He would yell and scream, and he was a complete asshole. This is according, of course, to what I was told. So it's very difficult because I'm getting the assessment from the people who claim it. So I never really got to know him very well. But the reason why I inherited all his stuff is because my aunt said, hey, I have all of your grandpa's Freemason stuff. I know you're interested in that kind of thing. And so I got that, as well as a big family tree history and everything. And I thought, interesting stuff, But I found, for me, and I'm glad I realized this, is that the brotherhood, the true brotherhood, is within here. And it's not just a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. It's a hood. It's everybody, man. It's all the people. It's being able to walk down the street, and this is what Freemasonry hopefully is teaching people this. That when you walk down the street, you don't look at people according to what they wear, how you think they may appear to you, or what you think they may be thinking about you, or about themselves, or the world. What it should teach is the basic values of stopping making assumptions, and to realize that even some of the people that need the most help, even though they may seem like corrupted people, they're just doing all they know how because they've been pushed away by so many people. If you take somebody into your heart once that's been pushed away by everyone else and show them why they should be a better person inside, then they're willing to follow that path. But if we just continue to push others away, separate ourselves with our little aprons and our hats, and make little groups and teams where we have our special symbols, organizations, it'll never work. Each man has to come to this realization on his own and then bring this to the table within a group. And this is what things like Burning Man do. That's why I go to Soak every year, because they're all many are like-minded people. I can see that like a fraternity, where most people understand that it's a value system, cleaning up after yourself, leaving the land better than you found it, respect for one another. There's absolutely no tolerance of fighting or cussing or, insulting or harming people physically or otherwise. And I think that this is very similar to what Freemasonry is. They have their meetings and everybody gets together. But each person arrives at this independently when it comes to events like that. And this is why festival scene is taking off, is because people come together with other folks that they may not even otherwise relate with in life and find a way to get along. And the most important factor of that is take that into your daily life. And that's what I would like to say about the Freemasons. It's great if you go and you hold, hot dog, feeding whatever they do, feed a community, or go to a soup kitchen, or do all these great things with the Freemasonry, the Freemason group. Hopefully they carry that into their daily life and do that regularly, instead of just saying, well, I'm a Freemason and I go to lodge and I do these things, therefore I don't need to treat people with respect in my daily life. Therefore I've excelled beyond most people, and I can become a pious asshole. And I think what disgusts me most about Freemasonry are things like the Grand Lodges. The Grand Lodge in, where's the main lodge? Is it in New York? Boston or something like that? But I've seen pictures of the inside of it, and it's over eloquent. It's what we used to say that churches are doing by wasting money. Say, hey, turn some of that Vatican cash into world assistance. But it's much more complicated than that, I realized, because I also know that money isn't, you can split all the money up in the world and give it all evenly to all the people, and it wouldn't make a bit of difference. Within a month, it'd even be funneled back into the same sources that it was in. It's just the way it works. But we can have hope, right? My hope is merely for the next few years to gain better understanding while I'm here on this planet. And hopefully future generations will be able to look back and say, man, remember when mankind couldn't get along? A man can dream, right? Hopefully people will get over their silly differences and just move past it. But I don't think that that's really going to happen permanently, because of the fact that these differences aren't always silly. Some of them are very strong. So which I guess the main argument here would be that religion is the one that seems to separate us the most, what we believe. And this is why I believe Freemasonry says it doesn't matter which religion you belong to, but by the end you shouldn't be part of any of them. I mean, that's kind of the gist of what I've got from it. That you have to understand that religions were created by man for man in order to help man, not to control man, yet people took it and used it to control man. It was a way for people to live better and be happier. They wanted to understand their world. It's not like somebody wrote a book one day and said, okay, this is what God said. These were compiled over centuries, and people wanted this information. They wanted it. They wanted to know what was going on. Just like today, people are in the search for the New Age information. And so while 100 years ago, joining a Freemason fraternity have been a great thing, so you could figure out which information had been compiled by the lodges. What kind of books and history did they have? But in today's world, I find it to be a futile thing, because Freemasonry is dead, is the way I see it. With the internet and the availability of exchange of information, we no longer need to go to a lodge. We don't need to spend money on these things. We can go out and help our own communities and do it in our own way, and that's what I'm urging people to do. Just to realize that we have to take initiative as individuals, or else groups will continue to separate themselves from the rest of society and deem themselves more valuable. If individuals, religious, non-religious, political, non-political, all helped one another, then it would make religion obsolete, other than a place for people to come and find a way to worship whatever they want to believe. So, have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later.